Krishna, welcome everyone. I'm happy that I was asked to speak a bit about the glories of the deity, since we celebrate today the 36th installation day of Sri Jagannatha Katha in our temple. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So already what we do now is an important process also in regards to daily worship. What we just did with this short mantra is an invocation. And invoking means to ask a particular power or person to take residence, take place, or to ask for a blessing. So when we chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, we address with Om the absolute truth. A-U-M stands for Krishna, Radha, and the living entity. It's a summary, so to speak, of the key aspects of the absolute truth. And Namo means a respectful approach. I offer my obeisances. And Bhagavate is a word for the divine Lord or God. And Vasudevaya is the name of Krishna. Usually for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas they think of the son of Vasudeva, Krishna. But the name Vasudeva also in Sanskrit means Vasu means life or existence, and Vasudeva is practically the god of life. So we understand Krishna is called Vasudeva because everything exists in him and he exists in everything. So Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, we approach and invoke our connection to the Supreme Lord who is the origin of our own existence. So, and also the deity is a representative of Krishna, so to speak, and we understand him to be the manifestation of the cause of our existence. That's something, the deity has a particular relationship with us, or we with him, and he is there to remind us of it. So the whole process of daily worship is a very fascinating process, which we will hear about a bit more. Simultaneously to today's installation day, there's also Shivaratri. It's a very important day for also all the Hindus and many, the Shaivites in particular, and has also an interesting connection to the installation. I assume it's on purpose. Deities are installed also on that particular day. So let's shortly hear what is the essence of Shivaratri. Lord Shiva makes a statement on Purana, saying in this age of Kali, always on the 14th of this particular month, on the dark half, so to speak, he will travel over the earth. And by doing this, he will be present in all the lingas, Shiva lingas. Installed ones, movable ones, and immovable ones. So he will be present everywhere in all the deities. And what he will do, he will show particular mercy and say, everyone who at that night is celebrating Shiva, chanting mantras, chanting prayers, fasting, he will free from all sins. So it's a particular blessing. So, particularly dedicated Hindus or Shaivites, they stay awake at night and glorify Lord Shiva. And we have similar things also in our Vaishnava tradition, that for example on Ekadashi, the idea is that one stays up as long as possible, if one can, the whole night, and absorb in chanting mantras and praying, reading scriptures and fasting at the same time. Because this is a very powerful method of purification. And purification is one essential element in daily worship. We can say it's one of the big reasons why we're supposed to do it. And let's also think about what does purification mean. It doesn't mean only to keep our body clean. That's also purification. And those who are priests know there's so many rituals to cleanse yourself all the time. And why is there need to cleanse yourself all the time? Because the body has the nature to be contaminated all the time as well. So you can see, as soon as you sleep for a few hours and you wake up in your mouth and your eyes and your ears and everything, you require some shower and some cleansing because there are secretions and everything. But this is just one aspect, the physical one. More important is that matter influences consciousness in 3 different modes. You know? And we say the consciousness of the conditioned soul is contaminated. That means we are influenced by matter in a way that we are not allowed to see our spiritual identity. And we also don't see the identity of the Lord. Matter is in the way. It's like a blindfold. And your eyes are useless with light. That's the condition of the material world. Eyes are only useful in the presence of light. Otherwise your eyes can't see anything. Unless you're a particular creature who has the eyes to see at night. But perhaps you're blind at day. It's also the other way around. You have these animals who are blind during the day. So purification means to uncover our consciousness, or recover our actual consciousness, means the ability to perceive our spiritual self and our spiritual relationship with the Supreme Lord. So in the Archana path, or Archana Vidhi, is designed to influence our consciousness in a way that we constantly remember the Svarup, the form of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, the essential identity of the Lord and our relationship with the Lord. There are many prayers involved, many mantras. Mantra is a method to free your mind. Manas, the mind. Triyate, liberate the mind from exactly this ignorance. This is the only freedom we need, freedom from ignorance, from illusion, and to see what is the true spiritual self. So, and the deity worship is supposed to facilitate that. But according to the Vedas, the deity worship is not the essential process for this age. It's a secondary process. And the main process we just practiced now, for the last 1 hour, is Nam Sankirtan, chanting of Lord's holy names. And this is actually the only process required for this age to attain this level of consciousness, to awaken our ability to see the self. Harinama, Harinama, Harinam, Eva Kevalam, Kalanasti, Evanasti, Evanasti, Gatyanyata. You can hear, even if you don't know the mantras, there are a few repetitions in there. Stressing the point, in this age of Kali, there's no other way that works. There are other ways that might also be having some influence, but the only process who really works to bring yourself to the point of self-realization is Harinam, Eva Kevalam, the congregational chanting of the holy names. But since our mind is a bit restless and a bit dull and everything, he might not feel attracted to that so much. He doesn't have to discipline. And Archana Vidhi is meant to discipline the mind also, to purify it. So that we learn to have a culture, a particular way of living, so that we can enter deeper into the chanting. So the must be clear, because sometimes maybe devotees think the daily worship is the most essential thing. And although it is very important, it is not. Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the deity that we worship, he taught us, no, the most essential thing is Harinam Eva Kevalam. And different deities require different things, or like different things. So for example, Lord Shiva, if you speak of Shiva, one of his name Shiva means he is auspicious. So another thing is, if I'm correct, Ashutosha is the one who is easily pleased. Is that correct? Is that his name? Yes, and Rudra is the one who is the angry one. He also has the function of destroying. So he gives blessings, and he just likes to see a little sincerity in the devotees, some little yaka, and he blesses. And also Jagannath has particular needs. And we see in Jagannath Puri what he likes, the worship he likes is that he's being cooked for. They cook immense amounts of food. Unthinkable. And it's even said the demigods themselves come there to cook. So huge pots no human being could handle. And it's even said, but here's an interesting perspective also, who is Lord Jagannath? Because in order to deity worship properly, we should also understand the tattva of the deity. There are different deities. There's Krishna tattva, Vishnu tattva, there's Shakti tattva, etc., etc. And Lord Jagannath is of course Shyama Sundara Krishna. And his particular form looks to many people, of course, very funny. And it is a very amusing form. Just look at the small arms and no visible legs, and his eyes are big and he's smiling. So what is happening there? He's in transcendental ecstasy. This is his form when he's enjoying his own bliss. Because what happened is he heard about his own sweet pastimes and glories, and by hearing that he manifested ecstatic symptoms, which were also, for example, manifested by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is said sometimes his arms disappeared in his body. He just threw them in. And sometimes it became extremely long and fell out of their joints. It might be a bit shocking, but it's described, it's an ecstatic symptom. Later they came back. And even his teeth sometimes said they seemed to fall out and they were fixed again. So his body transformed. Because the physical body could hardly handle the intense experience of transcendental ecstasy. It's also said that we cannot experience full love of God within this body because he would break, he would explode, he couldn't handle it. It's like if you want to charge a battery with a particular voltage it's not meant for, it will just explode. So you have to gradually transform yourself so that also you are able to experience transcendental happiness. So Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra, these three, they are Krishna, Balaram and Subhadra in a form where they experience intense ecstasy about the sweet glories and pastimes of the Lord. And they're very generous also. Krishna is a loving person, and the reason why he appears is that he knows the conditioned souls don't have the eyes to see the Satchit Ananda Vigraha, the form which is made of eternity, bliss and knowledge, a transcendental form. So therefore he comes as Archa Vigraha, a worshipable form that can be approached with the material body. We can offer him food, we can worship him, we can see him, we can interact with him by dressing him. And for example, Radha and Krishna, they have particular likes. They also like to be put on a swing and being swinged. Julan Yatra. Also Lord Nrsimhadev sometimes apparently likes that. And the different deities, they have different moods, and according to them, the moods they are worshipped. And we mentioned before, Jagannath likes to eat, or like at least the custom is, he is being cooked for a lot, intensely. But he doesn't want to have it all for himself. Actually, what he wants is, he wants to share the prasadam with the conditioned souls. So also this is the idea of deity worship, to provide opportunities for the jivas, to the conditioned souls, to get the blessings of Krishna in form of prasadam and in form of darshan. That's actually essentially the purpose of the deity. It's of course also for the person who worships to have an opportunity to worship, but Krishna is into sharing. He's not into misering. He's not greedy. He has enough. He rather is overflowing with everything, so he said, please take and share. And he extended his mercy in this age through his divine messenger, Srila Prabhupada, by even showing up in Europe and all places of the world. Ratha Yatra is a happening usually only known in India, Jagannath Puri. Because unfortunately, certain devotees Jagannath devotees in India, they think Jagannath is only exclusively for the Hindus. And then was some devotee made a complaint, you shouldn't call yourself Jagannath then. Because Jagannath means Lord of the Universe. But if you're only Lord of the Hindus, you should be Hindunath, not Jagannath. So he's the Lord of all living entities. Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. All living entities are my eternal fragmental parts. And he wants to give the mercy to all of them. So Srila Prabhupada managed to bring him to the best. So that he shows once a year, he shows himself to everyone, if they want or not. They just receive Jagannath's mercy. And prasadam is distributed, mantras are chanted, and Jagannath shows his beautiful ecstatic face to the whole world. And so, with the idea that people get attracted. This is what he says in the Bhagavad Gita. Paritanaya sadhanam, one of his intentions when he appears is to please the devotees and also to stimulate interest in those who are not devotees yet. by showing his forms, showing his pastimes, and so that we can get attracted. So that is his intention. He shares food and gives his darshan. Then we have another deity on the altar, Gauranga Nityananda, and Gauranga has a particular relationship also with Jagannath. He was very much eager to see him in Jagannath Puri, and we hear that he manifested very ecstatic symptoms in front of Jagannath, fell unconscious, crying out loud and like being unconscious for even 3 days. It's our Boma Bhattacharya took him to his place until he recovered from his transcendental ecstasy. So this we can learn also from Mahaprabhu, who showed us to be a devotee. Krishna shows like his forms as Jagannath as Krishna and how he is attractive. And Gauranga Mahaprabhu teaches how to relish this attractive Krishna form by being a devotee. So in Jagannath, the way actually Gauranga and Mahaprabhu, Nityananda are worshipped is very simple, even if they are deities. Someone can have a guess. What is the main worship method they are worshipped with? Gauranga and Nityananda. Exactly. That's what I taught. They are most pleased if in front of them devotees come together and do Nam Sankirtan. Because that's a process for this age. The deities come also in particular times and according to the circumstances provide a particular process. In the previous age, Dwapara Yuga, deity worship was like the main process because there are different capacities available in terms of what you can offer. Because the deity is treated like a king. We also say the residents of the heavenly planets, they look at Jagannath Puri and they see it as Purushottama Kshetra. And what they see is, they see every resident of Jagannath Puri as four-armed, as Vishnu, as Narayan, they see him. And yeah, the worship is very opulent and he's a king. This is how he should be worshipped. But like, it's a bit, it's not appropriate to offer the king cheap things. You know, like plastic and low-class foodstuffs and whatever. So in the previous age, there were like a lot of gold, a lot of silver, jewels, rubies, all this really valuable stuff, valuable items. And then you give to the Lord. And there are descriptions in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The Jagannath was offered food with gold plates, and they were just used once. Think of that. Everyone would be shocked and think, okay, let me go there where they throw the plates away. Because the gold plates are just thrown because there was plenty. So these resources aren't there yet, so therefore the deity worship is not possible like that. So when everyone has a tongue, everyone has a voice, I mean almost everyone, unless one is unfortunate to have no voice, then you have usually ears, you can listen. So this transcendental sound vibration, is that what Mahaprabhu teaches? And he also made very beautiful prayers to Lord Jagannath. It was interesting, here we can make a connection between Shiva, Mahaprabhu and Jagannath. Shiva is considered the greatest Vaishnava, greatest servant of the Lord. At the same time, he accepted a very, let's call it perhaps, unthankful task. He came as Adi Shankaracharya. And Shankaracharya did something which, when I think about it, must really hurt the devotee who is a personalist. He preached Krishna has no form, no qualities, no pastimes. There is no Krishna. Just imagine how it would be. You would have to go, your guru tells you, preach that Krishna is nonsense. What do you do? You know? So Shiva made the sacrifice actually. You come there simply to confuse the atheists. He was ordered by Krishna to do that service. And he did it. He preached this impersonalist philosophy, his Vedanta Sutra commentary, this Shariraka Bhasya. Anyway, his commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra are the big reference scriptures for the impersonalists. At the same time, he couldn't help it to write a few very beautiful songs and poems that express his devotional attitude and consciousness about Krishna. He wrote the Govinda Astakam, and he wrote also a beautiful prayer to Lakshmi Narayan, which has also 8 or 10 verses, very beautiful, taking shelter at Lakshmi Narayan, Lakshmi Narasimha. And he also, you might be surprised, some might have known, he's also the author of the Sri Jagannatha Ashtakam. He wrote it. It's a very personal prayer, the Lord Jagannath is being glorified. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to recite it also. And I also like today chant with you at least the refrain. I didn't have all the text, and maybe it's also from the time it's better I chant the main lines, and then we can sing the refrain always together, or twice. But I'd like to read before, would like to read you the text, because it's a beautiful prayer, and I ask you please to just absorb how this great devotee, Lord Shiva, actually is praying to Lord Jagannath on this particular day now that Lord Jagannath was being installed. Lord Jagannath sometimes makes the melodious sounds of playing music and singing throughout the groves on the banks of the Kalindi river. He is like a bumblebee, experiencing great delight while tasting the nectar of the lotus-like faces of the cowherd damsels. His lotus feet are worshipped by great personalities such as Lakshmi, Shiva, Brahma, Indra and Ganesh. May that Lord of the universe kindly become visible unto me. So this is also the meaning of the refrain line. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bahava to me. So that's the prayer, that's the intention and the desire of the devotee. Please become the object of my vision. That can mean, please let me always remember you, your deity form, that I remember it and see it. But in a deeper sense, it means also that I become able to have a transcendental vision and see your true nature within the deity. The pure devotee is able to perceive Krishna within the deity. The less pure we are, the more we see rather a material like wood or brass or marble, which might look beautiful, but we don't perceive it as the transcendental Lord. We perceive it as a deity of which we think that's Krishna, but we don't see Krishna. Right. In his left hand he holds a flute, upon his head is a peacock feather, and around his hips is a fine silken cloth. From the corners of his eyes he casts sidelong glances upon his loving companions. He is most fond of the pastimes he conducts while living in Sri Vrindavan. May that Lord of the universe kindly become visible unto me. On the shore of the great ocean is a large palace that glows with the effulgence of solid gold, and is topped by a towering temple spire that appears to be a blue sapphire mountain. Residing therein, along with his mighty brother Balabhadra, and in between them his sister Subhadra, Lord Jagannath bestows opportunities for all godly souls to render various devotional services. So this is what he's doing, providing opportunities for the jivas to render some service, and through the service they can reawaken and redevelop their relationship with him. Deity is not for the enjoyment of us, it's for it's an opportunity to render service to him and enjoying while serving him, like this. May that Lord of the universe kindly become visible unto me. He is a fathomless ocean of causeless mercy, and his beautiful complexion is like a cluster of blackish rain clouds. He derives great pleasure by hearing the words of affectionate chastisement from his beloved goddess Lakshmi. His face is like a fully blown, spotless lotus flower. He is worshipped by the best of demigods and sages, and his character and activities are glorified and sung by the topmost personified Upanishads. May that Lord of the universe kindly become visible unto me. As the Lord mounts his Rathayatra cart and parades along the road, there is a constant accompaniment of loud prayers and songs, chanted by large assemblies of saintly brahmanas. Hearing their hymns, Lord Jagannath is favorably disposed toward them. So we should also keep this in mind. Lord Jagannath likes if there is glorification going on, mantras, prayers are being chanted, so then it becomes favorably disposed toward us. So we can attract the mercy of Krishna by singing his holy name, singing his glories, and in this way resonate with his own intention to connect to us. He is an ocean of mercy and is the true friend of all the worlds. May that Lord of the universe, along with his consort Lakshmi, who was born from the ocean of nectar, kindly become visible unto me. He is the ornament adorning the head of Parabrahma, the supreme spiritual reality. His eyes are like the blossomed petals of a blue lotus flower, and he resides in a Nilachala temple that resembles a sapphire hill. His lotus feet are placed upon the heads of Lord Anantadev. He is overwhelmed by the flow of transcendental loving mellows, and he becomes happy only by embracing the luscious divine form of Srimati Radharani. May that Lord of the universe kindly become visible unto me. I certainly do not pray for a kingdom, nor for gold, rubies, and wealth. I do not ask for an excellent and beautiful wife, which is a possession desired by all ordinary men. I simply pray for that Lord of the universe, whose glories are sung by Lord Shiva from age to age, to kindly become visible unto me. O Lord of the demigods, please quickly take away this useless material existence I am undergoing. O Lord of the Yadus, please destroy the boundless accumulation of my sinful reactions. Aho, it is certain that Lord Jagannath bestows his lotus feet upon those who feel themselves humbled and helpless. And this is a good hint to the attitude a devotee should have toward the Lord, humbled and helpless. Cry out for the Lord's mercy. May the Lord of the universe kindly become visible unto me. And then there's a blessing to many of the prayers, the hymns that are composed. The chanter is encouraged to do it more because there's a particular blessing going with it. And here said, the soul of that self-retrained and virtuous person who recites these 8 verses, glorifying Lord Jagannath, becomes cleansed of all sins and duly proceeds to Lord Vishnu's abode. So the doors to Vaikuntha are open with that. So let's have in mind, this is how Lord Shiva glorified Lord Jagannath in the form of Shankaracharya, which is interesting since he came to preach impersonalism, but he left a few jewels that made clear actually he was a devotee. So that's difficult to swallow for the followers of Shankaracharya. But the Vaishnavas see it like this. So, what do you think? You have any more text?
We have here 3 songbooks.
Okay, then we can try with the full text, huh?
Maybe we can form groups and then we can look together.
Okay. Yes, I also want. Okay, then we go line by line. That's also great. Take some time. Das ist so ein Zweitakt, 1, 2, 1, 2. We need a cardinals player, at least one. Kadachit kalindita tavipina sangita karamo. Kadachit kalindita tavipina sangita karamo. Mudha pirinari vajana kamala svadamadhuva. Jagannatha Swami Narayana Patadami Bhavato Me. Jagannatha Swami Narayana Patadami Bhavato Me. Puche Saveveno Shirasi Shikite Patitate. Sada Srimad Vrindavan Vasati Leela Parichaya Sada Srimad Vrindavan Vasati Leela Parichaya Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavato Maham Buddhistire Kanakaruchire Nirashikare Maham Buddhistire Kanakaruchire Nirashikare Vasan Prasadanta Sahaja Palabhadre Navalina Subhatra Madhyasta Sakala Shura Seva Vasarado Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavato Kripa Paramara Sajala Jala Dashre Niruchira Rama Bani Rama Suradamala Panke Ruha Mukha Rama Bani Rama Suradamala Panke Ruha Mukha Surendraya Radya Shruti Gana Shika Gita Charita Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavato Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavato Tataruto Gaccham Bhati Milita Pure Vapadara Daya Sindur Bandhu Sakala Jagatam Sindhu Sudaya Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavato Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavato Param Brahma Pida Kuvalaya Dalo Puranayana Nivasi Niratra nihita charano nanta shirasi Rasana niradha sarasa vapuralingana sumo Jagannatha Swami Narayana Bhagavami Bhavato Navaya Chirachyam Na Jagannatha Manikya Vibhava Navaya Chirachyam Nayachiham Ramyam Sakala Janakamyam Paravado Sadakale kale Ramatapati Nagita Charita Jagannatha Swami Narayana Bhagavami Bhavato Paratvam samsaram dudadharamasaram surapate Paratvam papanam ditati avaram yadavapate Jagannatha Swami Narayana Bhagavami Bhavato Jagannatha Swami Jagannatha Swami Narayana Bhagavami Bhavato Jagannatha Punyam Yapati Prayata Shuchi Sarva Papa Vishuddhatma Vishnu Lokam Sagachati Jagannath Baladev Subhacha Devi Ki Jai. So we arrived at the end of our program so far. Are there any comments or questions on what has been spoken the last hour?
One comment. Prasadam is ready.
Yeah. Yes, Jagannath Prasadam he likes to share.
Did Shankaracharya have a midlife crisis or something where he changed from? Because he wrote this as a lot of devotion.
Mm-hmm.
And did he say, okay, I will please the bhakti marg people, but I believe something different? How can we understand?
Well, that's a bit, for me, a bit ambitious question. I didn't study, so to say, his life so much, the philosophy. What I understand is, so far, that since his identity is Lord Shiva, and as Lord Shiva he's a great Vaishnava, that it is natural for him, it kind of bursts out of his heart naturally. He cannot be an impersonalist with full heart. He does it as a service, since he was ordered to do. At the same time, he compiled these scriptures. So he was bewildering the atheists, and at the same time, he had to probably be true to his being Vaishnava. So that's what I can say. But maybe it's an interesting question to, or like point to study a bit more the life of Sri Shankaracharya. Yeah.
In his lifetime, the main, debate was not between the Vaishnavas and the Shaivites. The main debate was with the Buddhists. And Adi Shankara debated the Buddhists. And I don't think he saw
A conflict.
yes.
Okay.
This is what I understand.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. Then Jagannatha Baladev Subhacha Devi ki jai, Shri Shri Gaunitai ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Mahasvaratri ki.
Very bad.